Welcome, everybody, to tonight's ESA Cup matches. We have today an exciting match for you guys. EWAVE versus CrownZero. A little bit of a grudge match between the two German rosters, seeing which one will be the one to come out on top tonight.
Yeah, no love lost between these two teams, as they're Hyber. Both teams, they're going to be going at it, hammer and tongue throughout the whole game. And it is going to be a pretty exciting one as well, to be honest with you. Both teams, they're coming through the competition, at a rate of knots. And I mean, a big story here is that it's two German teams, surely. The big story here is that they really don't like each other.
Yeah, a little bit of beef between these two rosters, and arguably the more important detail that has to do with this match is the fact that this is actually an elimination match for both of these teams. If we look at our bracket right here, you can see that they've both gone down 0-2 already. So whichever team it is who loses this match will be eliminated from the ESA Cup, be it CrownZero or E-Wave.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the stakes they really could not be higher, could they? However, and it's going to be really interesting because as we go over to our map bands, we've got a couple of really interesting ones, haven't we? We've got to start off with, we're going to be going to Chalet. Fair enough, pretty normal, not too interesting. But then we're going to go to Labs. Labs, not quite as popular this season as it was last season. But then, hi Bear, we're going to Lair if we're going to finish it off, and that's a spicy pick, isn't it?
Yeah, from my point of view, I am a huge fan of labs as a map. It's something that's been a relatively recent addition to the pool. But despite that, I find for myself, I've really gotten a certain familiarity with it already. It kind of plays like some maps that teams already know, maps like your cafe, where it's got those big open rooms. It's also got this very execute focused style of attack where it's not so much about roam clearing or dealing with players in rat positions, but you kind of know where the defenders will be as the attack, and you need to be able to use utility to remove them from those power positions. Then ending things on layer, another map I'm starting to get a little bit of a better feel for. It's taken a little bit to get there, but it's growing on me. I'm feeling like a map 3 layer could be something exciting for us here.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. It's very much a Marmite map, isn't it? Only if everyone hated Marmite. I think it was, yeah, you get your odd person or two that love Lair, but by and large, I think everyone avoids it like the bubonic plague. But it's interesting that instead of going to Consulate, EWAVE decided to ban Consulate and bring us to Lair. And I wonder how much of that is down to CWZ's CrownZero's banning strategy, and how much of that is them saying, actually, let's just get really good on a map that no one ever really likes to play. And if we can take them there, that may well be a free map.
It's definitely the fact that it's a newer map really makes it an uncertainty for a lot of teams. Both these teams have played Lair before. I will note, I was talking with another one of our casters, Mighty, before the game, and these rosters have experience on this map. Both of them having played it before. I'm not exactly sure what the score lines in those matches were. I didn't have time to go over those quite yet, but they've played it. They're comfortable on it. So it makes sense as a map 3, as a decider, to go to a little bit of neutral territory where the teams have some experience, but maybe don't have as much comfortability as they might on some other maps.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a question mark as to you know, was it deliberate that we got into Lair? Was that something that was manufactured by either team, or is it just like one of these happy little coincidences that both teams have said, "Well, I guess we can kind of do that." So let's get rid of the more traditional maps out of the way first. Either way, if we do get to the third map, one thing's very certain, Hyber. It's going to be an incredibly spicy match up until that point. Elimination, so it is. So we are going to have max overtime, unlimited overtime, if we do find ourselves in those scenarios here. So very much reminiscent of your kind of G2 and Empire vibes from the SI, which actually originally got me hooked onto Rainbow Six Esports in the first place. But I think it was 40 rounds spent on Coastline.
I'm not certain about that. I think it's less than that. If I'm not mistaken, it's 24 was the total, but I actually had somebody flaming me in my comment section of one of my videos earlier today about the fact that I titled a video "The Greatest Esports Match of All Time," when in fact they disagreed and thought it was not the greatest esports match of all time, and that honor went to that G2 Empire game. But that being said, we've got some other esports matches here for you today, starting between EWAVE and CrownZero on the map of Chalet.
Absolutely, and with you know, a little bit of luck, touch wood, we won't be seeing this map take 3 years to resolve. Bans then, first one coming out, that's going to be a shield operator. Of course, it is Hyber, that's Montaigne.
Yeah, you're typical. I mean, the shield operators have just been so powerful throughout this season, throughout this stage. They do such good work of being able to take control of areas of the map. The Monty especially serving that purpose excellently. And honestly, like why not another shield ban? Totally expected. Blackbeard off the board, leaving just your Blitz and your Fuse if you want to be playing those shield operators. Likely the Blitz, given the Fuse has a little bit less propensity in all levels of play. But yeah, shield operators very powerful, and on Chalet makes sense to just get them off the board.
Yeah, and I mean, you could close your eyes, really, couldn't you, and pick out those two attacker bans, given the kind of the meta that we've seen so far in the ESA season 10. Valk getting taken off the board, that's my personal favourite operator to play. Love the intelligence that you can get from that, so we're not going to see any of those naughty little hidden cameras anywhere, which allow the defenders to execute retakes with that little bit extra information in their pocket. And then the mirror getting taken off as well, which I think it's one of those safe bans. It's kind of pretty standard, because a lot of strats where a mirror is involved can be almost breaking strats and force the attackers to go down a certain path of resistance. Now, Hyber, there's something a little bit amiss with this screen, isn't there? It's a little bit amiss. You tell me what
Yeah,
it is.
I'm noticing. It seems to me like E-Wave are down a player, and I've just got a note from production that they are, in fact, playing with 4 players, and they're just going to be doing their best to try and make it work. So, 4v5 here, E-Wave playing at a disadvantage, decided disadvantage, down a whole player, and you got to imagine CrownZero have the advantage in this circumstance.
You would absolutely have to imagine that. You know, there's one less gun on the field. There's so much less utility you can take. Even if the operator doesn't get a shot off, they can be useful, especially on defense. So playing with one less player is it's kind of wild. But you know what? Part of me kind of respects it. So what's happened is they've always used their emergency sub. They can no longer use one, and they couldn't form a full 5. But because it's the elimination map, well, you know, unlike unlike last round, where we conspicuously saw no match take place whilst 4 people were available, I kind of got to respect D-Wave and say, do you know what? They're going to come out here and they're going to say, well, let's give it a shot anyway. Let's see what we can do.
Giving it their best go. We'll see if they're able to pull it off. The round is starting pretty quickly. A couple spawn peeks attempted by E-Wave, looking to try and equalize the numbers here, but nothing found. We see CrownZero beginning to approach the building, going for what seems to be a library-sided attack.
Yeah, and those numbers, the numerical disadvantage, that's gonna really hurt this E-Wave defense, because they're a player down already. But Risk, they're already basically surrounded from Fluke Valk and from those library windows. Can they escape, or are they just gonna play their life and play time?
Well, Anti with an early engagement does escape down through the basement, and what I'm seeing here out of E-Wave is that they're trying to contest this space aggressively. They know they're in a disadvantage, so they need to be assertive in the fights that they take, but Dipsy will be the one to open things up, extending the advantage for his team, turning it from 1 to 2, and with Anti on low HP, things just aren't looking so hot inside of this first round.
Yeah, and I think that's the right strategy to take, really, isn't it? You know, be very aggressive, try and seize the initiative. Oh no! You can't be doing that though, Auntie. You know, they're not getting a shot off, they're not contesting, we're in a 5v2, and we still got half the round to go here.
Man advantage just keeps getting worse. Risk in a position where he might be able to attempt a flank, and elsewhere, Phantom managing to find a pick for himself, bringing that advantage a little bit closer, making it so that it's not quite so bad, but the flank here is going to be so hard. The gridlock tracks all over the stairs. Risk will collect 1, peeking through the vert, looking for a second, but the crossfire is there. Down from the vertical play, and the blue stairs player there to collect. Phantom, last alive here, over towards Piano, swings forward, manages to take a fight, taking the Flores down, getting that player off the board, and the 2v1 feels so much more winnable than the 3. Gonna try and reposition, get aggressive onto that piano door, but shoulder spotted, a lot of damage taken. Will escape with his life. A little bit of a reset comes through. He takes a moment to breathe. Some utility exchange. The bees looking to reveal the position of this mute, but standing on top of a mute jammer, he will not be pinged. Fleeks, though, unaware of that, looking to crouch walk in, trying to get the plant down, but the answer will come from the Grim over on the balcony, swinging into piano, taking the engagement with the mute, giving him a chance, but it will not be won as CrownZero take our first round.
To be fair to them, yeah, where they were positioned, they were in the perfect position to actually take that 2v1 because the attackers they couldn't put two angles on them at once. One of them, obviously over coming through Fluke Balk, the other one coming round through that kind of library hallway. They couldn't put two guns on them at once, so you could take it as two different 1v1s. Now, granted, that means you got to win your ones, but you're giving yourself the best opportunity. 4v5 to bring them down to a 2v1, I think is probably. Yeah, I think if you're EWAVE, you've got to take the small victories. And whilst that wasn't a victory, you've got to say, okay, we can take numbers off the board. We can maybe snatch a round or two, and then a round or two, you can start stacking them up, can't you, Hyber? They will have 5 players, probably come map 2. One of their players is running late, which is the region for their inability to field 5 players so far already. But it's a difficult one because there's this element of uncertainty in their play. They're not going to know, and they're not going to have contact, consistent contact, with this late player. And that's also going to be a distracting factor as they go through this game because they're going to be like a little bit in the back of their head, where is this guy?
That round was surprisingly close given how much of a disadvantage starting with one player down really is. Risk, I gotta feel for him going down to a track singer on blue stairs. Had the potential to catch a player off guard too, but not to be. Next round starting, going this time to Bar and Games, running a pretty typical setup. The Goyo, the Solus to help with the roam, the Frost for his shield, stuff like that. And CrownZero looking to begin seemingly with the solar side take.
A relatively quieter start to the round in comparison to round 1. Both teams seem to just feeling each other out, just seeing where the paces are. But there we go. First one that'll come from CrownZero, and that'll also come with the establishment of top control. But they didn't get the second player. There's a player still on that short wall that EWAVE haven't found, and they're gonna get paid back. Entree falling to scopes.
Good find out of CrownZero. Feel for Entree. He felt like he was in a good position to get aggressive, to find himself a play, to try and bring that body balance back, knowing you can't continue to play these rounds in a man disadvantage, but not to be. Now Deimos track coming out. CrownZero really taking their time here, being slow but methodical as they dismantle this defense, knowing they don't need to rush things. Their advantage is substantial and they can simply take their time. Deimos track will be canceled. Risk repositioning, looking to come help his player who's still playing over here on the blue stairs, and he will find a pick over towards 45 in the meantime. That is one, bringing it a bit closer, but still, man disadvantage. Top floor control secured, and Phantom going down inside of Fireplace, leaving just the Goyo last alive, contesting this library hatch, going to be peaked. One to find. And a second, not over yet. Switching to the pistol, looking to try and reposition over towards Banana, seeing if he's going to catch the wrap on the player. The flashbang comes out, blinding out Risk, seeing the edge of his feet, but the blind is still in place, and Scump will be able to take him down, hearing him at seemingly the last second, flipping around and catching that player.
Yeah, good round, but not the kind of dominant round that maybe you would expect. In what is quite literally a 5v4. I think you can take some heart from that if you're EWAVE or if you're supporting EWAVE here. But CrownZero, it may well not be dominant, but it is 2-0. So I don't think they're going to mind how these rounds go as long as they get the rounds.
Yeah, and the big thing for them is that they just need to be slow and methodical with how they play it. They need to be really clean with their play, because that's the only way that they lose these rounds is if CrownZero themselves make mistakes, open opportunities for EWAVE to be able to make plays. But if they're slow, if they're methodical, even if they take a long time getting set up, that's okay. I mean, Chalet's a small map. You're not rushing for your execute. You're usually at most just 1 or 2 rooms away from sight. And you always, as CrownZero, inside of this map, have the advantage because your opponents are a man down. So it's really factoring in, I think, into how they're approaching these rounds, taking their time early on, really being thorough with their droning to make sure that they're not cut off.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Tell me, if you're EWAVE here though, do you commit more into like a trap meta and try to play the clock a little bit, or do you double down on this offensive bias and maybe configure your strategy towards that? Because I'm looking at this operator lineup and it feels like operators you pick if you were just in a 5v5, and they're absolutely not. What do you think about that?
I think that honestly, in their situation, they shouldn't be playing their strategies. They should be treating this almost like it's a ranked game, like it's gonna be a frag press. And they should just be looking to out-ego these players, essentially. Bring the Vigil, bring like something Boss G, just swing these guys, high fire rate, Solus, things like that, things that will help you to win gunfights. Because you're not winning on strategy, you're down a man, you don't have the players to be strategical here. Speaking of strategical though, look at this lineup CrownZero brought along. Looking to be explosive, if I could say so. You see some sense walls come out. A little bit of disconnect created as Disky pushes in towards Office, managing to catch the player half full. C4 goes up, gonna miss the player, gonna miss the blitz. Surviving until now. Smoke grenades tossed out to try and slow down this push, but forced to fall back is the rest of EWAVE after losing a player, and well, they do manage to find a trade. Still, they forfeit the entirety of top control, leaving CrownZero to be able to reset and convert.
It was slowed down. Those initial rushes coming out. Damaging this EWAVE team, but not quite putting them to bed just yet. CrownZero taking a second just to reset. They've established the vert control that they need. The blitz, they're going to fall. But then, they've still got the numerical advantage. They've got vert, but Phantom bringing it back. That's 2v2.
Good find onto the blitz and the other player suddenly equalizing, but the fight is coming down Solar Stairs, catching one as Fleeks. Little headshot on the player behind the table, using that DMR in the position of the smoke. Now known, a shoulder peeking out, a lot of damage done. One more bullet from that DMR will be enough to finish him off, and if he stands in that fire, he's done for. Scoops holding the angle, just sitting through after popping that fire canister. And as his teammate goes to take sight, he knows the smoke is going to have to walk into his line of sight. He's able to pick up that last kill.
Yeah, very shaky there from CrownZero, though. You've got to say, getting brought down to a 2v2 and then having to play out from there, it's not the kind of dominant performance that you would maybe hope for. Again, if you're playing with this kind of numerical advantage, it's not really good signs going into the rest of the competition, is it? And on a very much a wider, on a macro context, I think if they look back at this, they won't be overly happy with how they're conducting themselves. And I do wonder if, when it comes to map 2, as we've just had confirmed, EWAVE will be up to that full stack. I do wonder if things will maybe be that smidge more competitive. The lesson here, Hyper, isn't it? The lesson here is be on time.
I mean, sometimes it's difficult, right? People got jobs, and if somebody had to stay late at work and you don't have a sub who's available, then it's just an unfortunate situation, right? This game, I'm happy that EWAVE is playing it. Really credit to the players for sticking it out despite the disadvantage and actually showing up to give us a little bit of a show. So I'm happy regardless. I'm happy they're here, and
yeah,
so far, as you've said, there have been signs of life. I mean, they're playing like they want to win some rounds. So we'll see if they're able to pick anything up. As of now, though, just keeps coming back to it. But that numerical advantage, just a little too overwhelming.
Yeah, CWZ, CrownZero, they have not had the rip-roaring start that they've had to round 1. They've been held a little slower these past 2 rounds, but one thing that I've been really impressed with them so far, is, in contrast to what I have been saying about them, is that they have been able to switch up their strategy. They're not just, oh, here's our strat for top, here's our strat for bar gaming, here's our strat for kitchen. They've got a variety of things that they can do on each site, and they're keeping this EWAVE side off balance. So that's something that you've got to really respect about the team.
Look at this take that CrownZero bringing along, sending the buck down below, holding the Solar Stairs, ready to punish any player should be maybe playing on that staircase. Not to be, EWAVE correctly not sticking a player on that staircase, knowing if this player is here, I mean, they're a dead man walking if the other team knows how to clear it. Let's just say they have not got the bodies to be able to pull it off. But CrownZero going for a solar side take here. And it really, I gotta say, EWAVE look like they've adapted to this perfectly, sending 2 players below, being in position to deny the walk-up from the basement. Vert holes created, looking to contest. Looks like as this fight's come through, as Nikki goes to walk up these stairs, they might be ready to engage. Enchi swinging out, shoulder hit, but not taken down. Potential to expose himself through those holes in the wall. Not a lot of cover with which to play, and he will be taken down. Enchi with the answer, using that C8 to great effect. Swinging over, seeing another on that dining table, but unable to connect the shots just yet. But in the meantime, the engagements are going through elsewhere. We'll battle back. EWAVE with answers. Not over yet. Cyber sprinting in front of the window, looking to try and catch the player walking into sight. Spots the bottom, misses the shot. So close he is. And Risk does manage to refrag, sprinting out and managing to trade with the player just on big window. But his position's revealed. Big window player able to call that out to his teammates, and the site has been forfeit. This plant will go down, and Dipsy able to reposition outside the window to total safety with the shield facing Risk. You got to imagine it's just too much to ask. Akiba will come out onto the shield, doesn't stick to it properly. Flashbang to be able to blind out the player. The zombie still fighting, though not down yet. Another engagement going through. The Hibana just whiffing a whole bunch of shots, not managing to connect. The smoke cloud dissipating, running forward with the deagle is Risk. A knife attempted. Fleeks not able to get close enough, and Risk will start to set itself on case, looking to try and get that thing off. Could have used those Kibas, but gets a little too long. Yeah, not enough time to be able to stick it at that point. Too bad, but very close despite it all. I honestly think if those Kibas had gone down a bit earlier, we could have seen a defuse come through.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, it's these split-second decisions. On 14 seconds, if you throw over 2 keepers and then you start to fuse them, maybe you get it, and force them to take the long angle. But it's a game of milliseconds at that point, isn't it? And I would say that if you are E-Wave, 2 critical things. One was letting the player from Solarium run into Master Bedroom uncontested, only contesting them once they've kind of started to hold an angle. That was maybe a bit of an oversight, and then roaming a little too close to the sun as a Zami, not playing a little tighter with that speedier time to get back to your friends. That was also maybe a little bit of an oversight, but I don't think you can take much away from Risk's game so far. At all. They've been playing fantastic. That's a cracking time for the advert to come up over their kill death, isn't it?
Yeah, Risk taking a bit of a risk there, going for that front door run out. I do agree, but I felt like almost necessary to me. Like, you got to rely on your site player being able to find one on the walk-in. And,
yeah,
Risk feels like he needs to make a play. Like, they're in a man disadvantage. The window control is just so powerful at that point. You need to relieve some pressure, and I don't disagree with the play, especially if his teammate is, like, just consider if his teammate who's playing inside a master closet is able to find that kill. I mean, that's it, round 1. There's one player left solar, and it's just so much more favorable of a position. But if you don't go for that play, the big window control plus the push coming in solar, I think things just become overwhelming. So, a little bit leaning into his namesake right there. Risk going for an opportunity, but ultimately not finding anything.
Yeah, and talking about opportunities, missed opportunities, Doc, I think they're spawn peeking Cyber getting caught out by CrownZero. That's not going to be something his teammates will thank him for as they go down 3v5. But I really like the use of the Fenrir here. That's going to be an attempt to really even out the odds. That's going to be a missed attempt to get a frag out over onto roof out on this round. It's not going too well for them, High Bearers. They've got injuries, they've got damaged players left and right. Everywhere except the site.
Risk going down, but being able to be picked up. But as I say that, a trade comes through. Ente going down, sprinting away after rezzing his teammate, trying to reposition, get a bit closer to sight. Given it's just Phantom up here, the last player upstairs, as Risk is forced to take the long rotate back up blue. And Phantom will go down. Risk, the last one alive, trapped over towards blue stairs. Gridlocks on every approach to sight. And Nikki will be the one to just simply make his way, check the staircase, and pick up that last player.
Yeah, I think that was probably the most dominant round we've seen so far coming out from CrownZero, isn't it? E-Wave, I mean, the early spawn peak kind of set the tone for that round. I felt, even though the operator lineup was probably of all the ones that they've had so far as a four, as a four stack, it was probably my favorite of the lot because you've got the Fenrir, which can that can stop several players at once from being able to peek, swing, hold angles without turning their back to engage and destroy the Fenrir device. So I think the operator lineup, the theory behind it was sound, but as soon as the dock spawn peak, didn't work, as soon as they got refragged, well, not even refragged, as soon as they got popped without doing any damage, from there it was a bit of a task, a bit of an ask to bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, and at that point, you're just playing traps to be able to slow the attack down, to make it a bit more difficult for them to continue their approach, to at least pose some questions with your setup that the attack has to answer. And,
Yeah.
I could totally see a world where, an attacker who's walking maybe a bit ahead of his teammates walks into a Fenrir trap and is forced to engage in a very unfavored position. Boom. There you go. Suddenly it's equalized. We lose our disadvantage. But everything that E-Wave is having to do here, it just plays into that idea. It's so central to what's going on inside this map. That numbers disadvantage affecting how every round is played out. And we do see another fight going in towards Library here. Enti looking to try and get himself an engagement, but nothing found just quite yet.
Yeah, no spawn peaks for E-Wave, so that's a positive or a negative depending on which way you look at it. But there is a certain amount of site control that's being exerted from them in a way that we maybe haven't seen previously. They had top control, they've since yielded top control, but they've not allowed CrownZero to take it just yet. They've got players heavily committing to the roam on a shallow roam offsite, and it's only now as we go a minute through the round that Scopes actually falls. And the issue here, I believe, with E-Wave is whilst they are playing quite an aggressive game, they've not got the numbers for the territory they're trying to claim in the map at this stage of the round. For having 4 players, you want to be aggressive, get that kill, but if you're not getting that kill really early in the round, from there you've really got to be pulling back and anchoring down on site and trying to really bed down, I think, because at the kind of numerical disadvantage they're at, Scopes picking up a second, you can't be affording to lose a player or two on these roams.
I mean, it's just impossible. The Ying shotgun coming out, dropping the hatch, sending it into sight, 5v1. I mean, there's nothing you can do. You're sitting there, you're a smoke, you got 17 bullets in your mag, and just nothing but the hopes of your team on your back. E-Wave, down 6. CrownZero will get you match point in flawless fashion. And, it's what we expect. I think with the man disadvantage, I hate to keep hammering it home, but it hurts so bad. You just can't play rounds the same way. And if you don't find a way to disrupt the attack before they can start choking you out, you just lose over and over again. CrownZero successful in their play and especially dominant in the last couple of rounds. They're looking fully warmed up right now.
Yeah, I mean, we are flogging a dead horse when we talk about being a man down, but it is ever present. It is the kind of thing where it affects absolutely everything in terms of how team comp strategy, how you go about playing the game. So it's it's just something we are going to have to keep hammering over until map 2. A perfect half for CrownZero, although not the most notable given the circumstance, but they'll be happy enough with that. One more round, their own defense on their own pick, and they'll be home free. They'll have gone 1-0 up in the series.
Which, I mean, if you're CrownZero, that's a great feeling. You still need to close it out. And I've gotten word that next map, E-Wave will be playing with their full 5. So potentially a little bit more of a contest as we move on to map 2. But as of now, CrownZero, they're just looking to close this out. Playing a pretty tight bunker hold on this bar defense. Bringing the castle, bringing the frost, the echo cams for info. Just really a solid bunker lineup that it's going to be real tough for the attack to break. See cluster charge come down. On that library window, Skip's not forced to move just quite yet. He'll continue to play in that library corner position. Where he's standing, fuse charges don't actually reach as long as he tucks himself into that corner. So, risk putting those down on the windows might be a little bit scary, but as long as he sits still, plays with confidence, he is entirely safe to maintain his position right there. And the positions, as I speak of them, are starting to get taken apart just a little bit here. Flores drones coming through, looking to try and get rid of those shields, top mez, but mute jammers blocking the positions. Hard to drive through that little maze of mute jammers. Phantom gonna swing wide, looking to shoot him, but he'll be taken down by Fleeks, popping up from behind that shield. Manage to find a pick, and it just continues. Future from top mez will answer as well. Trade him back. Enti finding one, but the man disadvantage continues to grow. 4v2 is the man count, and CrownZero, their setup is still looking like a force to be reckoned with. Shields uncleared, very little util with which to get rid of them. Players still maintaining their position, knowing they don't gotta leave. Engagement towards E-blocks. They take some damage, a little bit of an exchange, but Scoops will be the one to win it. Even just risk alive on the roof. Pad his stats, 0-6 down, almost unwinnable situation. Just looking for something, anything. And at this point, this map is over. Risk will just simply sit up on the roof, look for a few more picks, see if he can pad his stats just a tad, while waiting for his teammate to get home for map 2.
He's Jordan. Oh dear. Something we absolutely can't sign. We don't know what it's gonna be. Yeah,
What do
I
you reckon he
mean,
writes?
it's one of them, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing you can do except
Wow. Look at
fill
those
time at
beautiful
this point, isn't
mountains.
there?
Look at this. Take me to the Alps,
What a
honestly. Let's go
landscape!
skiing.
Yeah.
What a I gotta say, I was out for a little bit of a jog earlier today, and where I'm at, I can see the mountains. And when it was a bit colder, you could see that there was some snow caps at the top of the mountains, but where I'm at, all the snow has already melted. And it was proper lovely today. Just staring outside, looking at those. One kill found. Risk, maybe a chance here if they continue to jump out, throw their lives away, but looks like CrownZero not wanting to give it to him, opting instead. Let's just head over to map 2, and that'll be in flawless fashion. CrownZero taking their map pick, sending them up in the series 1-0, and one step closer to eliminating EWAVE.
Yeah, and that's all she wrote, really, isn't it? That's it's one of those. It's a difficult one for EWAVE because they did come into it with 4 players. There's not really too much they can actually do from there. But they're gonna have a full 5 next map, so I think we should just get there as soon as we can. To be honest with you.
No, at this point, I mean, like, that one was a write-off from the beginning. You're playing at a man disadvantage, you're not expecting to win. At that point, just treat it as, like, a moment to get warmed up, start chatting a little bit, get the comms flowing, the juices going, see if you can get a little bit of a hot streak going, but no rounds found. E-Wave, pretty much the expected result. We'll be down 0-1, but they'll be back in a moment's time for our map 2. Wait for it. Nighthaven Labs. I almost said consulate. I got distracted by our consulate chat earlier on. But Nighthaven Labs will be map 2. E-Wave's map pick, and hopefully we see a little bit better of them after the break.
Welcome back to the ESA Season 10 elimination matches. I've got Hyber with me, the brains of the operation, Hyber, the beauty of the operation, and the winning smile of the operation. And then I sit in and I say things sometimes. E-Wave, back to full strength, Hyber. 5v5. Let's go!
I'm so excited. Hopefully, a little bit closer of a map here. I mean, notably for E-Wave, this is also their map pick. This is the one they wanted to go to. So, should be a bit of an advantage for them there. Having 5 already looking better than last map. CrownZero, I reckon, at least lose 1 round this time. What are we feeling?
Well, I would never advocate for a team to lose around Hyber, as I am, unflappably unbiased. But I think I would quite like to see something a smidge more competitive. And with it being 5v5, and with CrownZero not being as dominant a force as maybe you would think a permanent 5v4 would be, you can't help but feel that it will be a bit more competitive. Maybe we'll see an unlimited overtime at the end that takes 30 years to resolve. Who knows? But for now, we're just going to get into the bans, and these bans, there is absolutely nothing to write home about, is there? It is shield after shield after shield.
Something tells me that these teams don't really want to play against shields. And the last operator off the board, the Valkyrie, I was kind of hoping it was going to be somebody who has a shield, like as a secondary gadgets, but not to be. Couldn't have gotten the four of a kind. Unfortunately, EWAVE CrownZero throwing that ban phase. Going into labs makes sense. Clash is actually a pretty powerful operator, especially on the top floor of this map. That command and pillar. Oh my goodness, I cannot remember the name of that site. Command center servers at the bottom of my screen. Very powerful operator for that site. Really makes it difficult to push in through those choke positions. So
What's the name of
E-Wave
it again?
likely just wanting to take her. What's that?
What's the name of it again?
Command and server?
Command and server. Yeah, well, we could call it command and server. I'm just gonna
Not
call it
command and
top.
server.
Let's call it top.
We can call
Let's
it
keep it
top.
simple.
I like me some top. Wait. No, E-Wave taking the Clash off the board. Likely wanted to make it a bit easier to attack onto this top floor, given they are starting the game on their attacking half. I think a zombie spotting a drone over towards garage entrance, looking to try and take it out. Whiffing seemingly an entire mag on that drone, and eventually taking it down. Nice job, nice shots out of Dipsy. As we get into this match.
That reminds me of my own
name.
name. And there's a reason I'm a caster, not a player. But there we go.
But as we get into this match, the important thing to note, Tim Del Rey filling in for that 5th player slot for EWAVE.
I can only imagine they joined the team chat to the tune of Bonnie Tyler's "I Need a Hero," because they have come up clutch at the last second here, haven't they? Round will get started then, as we see these E-Wave players, they're actually getting very close to site uncontested here through that kind of backside approach. I think front site typically you would refer to as the garage side of the site, where you get a lot of people playing over on those rafters areas, more people playing towards that double wall, where sometimes you get mirror setups as well. Notably, mirror not banned out this time, as opposed to last map, where the Clash has been substituted in for a mirror ban. But it seems like they've got pretty much a 360 approach to site. So now that they've got a full stack, they can commit to these attacks where instead of being very one-dimensional, they can actually go ahead and they can start to pinch in on site. Hyber.
Trouble coming through early on here. The Mav brought along to get some holes open in that wall, but they haven't managed so far to deal with the Cade Claw over towards the top, still in place, preventing a Thermite or Ace from putting any gadgets down on the wall. Not the end of the world here. I mean, you don't necessarily need IT open on this site as an area you can push. You just need to be able to deny the defense from playing there, especially if you rotate your push, as EWAVE is seemingly trying to do over towards this connector side.
Yeah, I was withholding judgment until they potentially got it, but then they seem to have just not done that. And rather than waste another half of the round trying to get through it, they've decided to rotate over. But that means that this backside is only going to get contested by one player.
Oh,
never mind that,
what?
it's going to get contested by no one, as Dipsy just says, no, not today, mate. No room at the inn.
Holy flick, doing that on a controller, no less. Phantom going down. Dipsy with a nasty shot. CrownZero said, you know what? We're sick of playing this in a 5v5. Let's reset it back to last map. Treat it like Chalet. Suddenly, we're down numbers once again. But, ooh, look at this. Aggression here out of Cyber. Over towards the barricade, but he will go down. Tim Del Rey, welcome to the game. Taken down by the Deagle, not to be in this round.
I was expecting a lot of good things from the map coming through when E-Wave had a full stack. I wasn't expecting E-Wave getting an extra player to be a net benefit for CWZ. Risk, they'll pick up one on fixture, but they don't need to push them. There's 10 seconds left. They've got a 4v1 advantage, and they're just going to sit back for the most part. They'll throw a bit of, okay, well, apparently they won't, but but they've won the round anyway. It doesn't really matter. They will win it on frags right at the dying second, but it was won far, far before that.
Yeah, earlier on, CrownZero securing a 5 versus 1 advantage for themselves. And at that point, you know what? Whatever. Throw a couple bodies at the last guy. Let him get some picks, pad his stats. It's okay. You don't care if you're the defense because the onus is on them. They got to push you. So simply sit still, sit back, watch your
Yeah.
teammates trade out, waste this dude's time, and nothing found here for Risk. 1 HP, super shorty out. Able to pick up a few picks, but nothing worth writing home about. And the round will go the way of CrownZero.
Yeah, and there was a couple of things which really led to that round collapsing for EWAVE, wasn't it? I think principally it was their inability to get the K-Claw off of that wall in the first place for what would usually, into that maintenance area looking onto rafters, which would help them push that rafters player out of garage. They weren't able to do that, and then the 2-brow also confounded those difficulties. So that in the first place meant that they could only realistically attack through the doorway, rotate round to window. And with the most of the team still being committed to that kind of front side push, when the rotates came around, they were very, very predictable. And, players like Dipsy, who was sat on the Izami, could take those gunfights from a position of authority. From there, they were 2 people down, and you're not really coming back from that when CrownZero can then just say, right, well, we're just going to dig in like a tick. Come after us if you think you're hard enough.
New site, new opportunities for EWAVE to finally find their first round inside this series. Bringing along a pretty heavy roam clear style lineup. Your Jackal, your Deimos, clearing out those players. The Nomad locking down flanks. Then your Ram for work and vert. Probably a good lineup for them here. I mean, with the basement defense and a relatively light roam out of CrownZero, it's definitely good to have these operators be able to quickly take and then start opening up that vert, and they will. Look at this. Already tossing down those Ram boogies, getting that floor open just under a minute into the round. Real good pace here so far out of EWAVE.
Yeah, but with the defenses down as CrownZeros, then they're not roaming that as much as maybe we would think. It's interesting that they're at the stage of the competition where they are because, from memory, they did significantly better than this, in previous seasons. But here, it seems like they've really struggled to get a foothold on the competition, where, admittedly, despite it, that first map being 4v5, as this one is now, they haven't really stopped their authority on the match until EWAVE have gotten a full roster. It's kind of bizarre, really, isn't it?
Scaps pushing up Vending, able to collect 2 kills. The smoke in this position on the cargo stairs is actually cut off. So long as EWAVE continue to hold the vert here, they've actually got themselves 2 kills. They gotta force these players to back up. That smoke on that staircase, unlikely to give up his life for free, though as I say that, he will actually go down. But Scaps continuing to find fights inside this round, peeking once again in towards storage now. Find himself another kill. The Deimo's still alive. Can use one of those deathmark trackers to reveal the position of the Goyo. Now that he's been spotted, low hole open in the wall. Scap finding one more. Deimos revealing his position, shooting through that wall, making his presence known. Like the pistol, looking to engage, will catch Scaps, managing to find at least one. But the numbers are just really not in his favor. Again, a 1v3 Risk last alive with that Deimos pistol, his only opportunity to engage in these long-range gunfights. Otherwise, just the shotgun for up close. That's not going to be too useful as he goes to drop down this Animus hatch. One player tucked back Animus. Position likely unknown to Fleeks, and Risks just getting called out. An echo drone above his head inside of Garage. Just pinging away, shooting a couple of sonic bursts at his head, taking away his audio, making it just an unwinnable situation. And I mean, at this point, he doesn't even look like he's going to go for the drop. Padded his stats, got his. It'll come through. New engage, but again, there's no time left in the round, and CrownZero once again stalling things out and taking the round on time.
Yeah, no ace for Scaps, unfortunately. Scaps, big 4K coming out there. But I don't think that round was ever really in doubt, even after Scaps fell, was it? Lovely stuff from them, just holding that top floor. I don't think a single CrownZero player ever got to the same floor as the site was on. And that's exactly what you want from a Roma, you know what I mean? Ideally, maybe pick up an entry frag, pick up a kill some time. Okay. How about 2 minutes and 80% of the enemy team, said Scaps. Unfortunately, they weren't able to pick up their ace. Very well played from them. And then, just a lot of hesitancy coming out from EWAVE, from the Deimos, where you think maybe you've just not quite got the equipment to go ahead and challenge this site in a way where you would want to. I don't think the shotgun is really too great a pick on the Dymos, particularly when you're using your ability. You're limited to your pistol. What do you think?
There's two things in that round that stood out to me. First, Deimos did not use any death marks, period, full stop, at any point in that round.
Yeah.
The Goyo was flanking. You can use a track to be able to hunt that player down, remove the pressure. Got two kills. Sorry, he got 2 kills, right? And at that point, you know the Goyo was the one flanking. Whatever, those 2 kills are done for. You never really saw an answer out of EWAVE. They never really came up with a solution to the problem that was that Goyo, and the Goyo continued to fight. He never left, and he managed to pick up 2 more kills for himself before finally being taken down. And the other thing I wanted to highlight, Phantom, playing the Nomad, dude. You gotta be setting those Nomad traps up on your flanks. You can't be going down to a single player just walking up a staircase and shooting you in the back.
No, I 100% agree. 100% agree. If you're a Dymos, you're an intel player. People play him a lot as an entry frag, and I think that's it's absolute anathema to how the operator is designed. If you're a Dymos, you're an intel player first and foremost. In these pinch scenarios where you know the identity of a roamer and you're looking to push around and take them off the field of play.
Look how many defenders there are upstairs here, slowly being pinched out. Scaps, a little bit of a Hoshone peek over towards Z-Box, seeing if he spots anyone pushing him. There are a few, and he's actually just missed the players, so potential for him to be unaware, but he does hear the drone pre-ripping the C4, ratting in a corner, will be spotted, and C4 revealed, so some hesitancy, likely for these players, afraid to walk forward, but Scaps will engage, winning the fight with the gun instead of the C4. It's just not missing right now. Things continuing to go in the direction of CrownZero, and Scaps with another 9 kills to his name, 3 rounds in, make it 10. Don't let it stop, and suddenly it's just Cyber left alive. Will find one, but Fleeks with the response. Just a down, not even a kill, and that will be another rapid round going in the way of CrownZero.
I mean, we can sit here and analyze it all we want, can't we? But I think CrownZero just gone, hey, here's our strat, Scaps go kill. And there's not really too much more to analyze from that, is there? I think EWAVE, they didn't really specifically do anything wrong that round, but they're going up against the CrownZero that I think maybe emboldened by that first map victory are coming to their map now over on Labs, and they're just tapping on heads. They're just tapping on heads, high bear, and when a team gets into this kind of groove, when they get into this rhythm, it's obscenely difficult to try and dig them out of it.
Really feels like they've warmed up into this map too, huh? Like map 1,
yeah,
it's like you said, the first couple of rounds were frankly pretty sloppy out of CrownZero. I mean, despite their advantage, they were throwing bodies, the rounds were close, there was a couple clutches that even came through. This map too, it has been nothing but dominant. The closest round, I think, was that first one on the top floor site, where it turned into a 2v1 at the end of the round after being a 5v1, where there were 3 CrownZero players who simply just prone peeked the player in electrical with the shotgun close. Like, that's your closest round. That's not a close round. It's still a massive distance from you actually winning if you're EWAVE. And I'm just looking at the kills across the board. And don't get me wrong, kills aren't everything. But EWAVE have 5 kills total throughout this game so far. And again, 3 of those came on the side of Risk inside of the first round. Like, it's just not enough as of yet. EWAVE need to do better.
Yeah, and there's not much more to say about it than that. They do. They just straight up need to do better. They're going to start by taking off this mirror from the board, but then also by popping that mirror, they've opened up the angle onto any hard breach they're going to use on that wall. So I don't know if I would take out that mirror window if I went below there.
Oh my god, the mirror window open. Will
through that
go
angle.
Down. Yeah, peek over from Raptors, catching the ace, taking him off the board temporarily. Likely to be finished off as he has managed to crawl his way down the staircase, and the fight's looking like they're coming through relatively rapidly. Cyber working his way in, managing to take it from the bottom of those warehouse stairs. Cade of Nikki behind the mirror feels a little too afraid to engage. We'll see. The thermite charge here to open up the IT wall. Things already looking better for EWAVE. Already a chance inside this round as there's a little pause as they reconnect.
I think this is the first time in the whole game that they've had a positive numerical advantage that lasted anywhere over a second.
Oh, certainly. Certainly.
So props for that, I suppose. I think if you're, if you're Tim Del Rey, you're not thanking Ace, you're not thanking the Ash, you're not thanking Cyber for opening up that mirror window and opening yourself up to the angle. But they've gotten away with it. And CrownZero, they've kind of yielded control. EWAVE, they've now rotated over. It looks like they've pivoted away to this kind of backside approach, and they're gonna start picking up these kills as well. But Scopes, they're not gonna go quietly into that night, are they?
Really good position here out of EWAVE. They've managed to force all of these players back towards Pillar and P-Box, taking control of the entirety of Command and finding all the fights falling in their favor. Rift with another one. Just one player left alive. Future will be that player, and he's going to go down to the Flores over towards IT. Peeking out, aware of the last player's position, and just tossing a few bullets over towards that Pillar. Able to pick him up, and EWAVE will collect their first round so far in this best of 3.
They're not going to get Satellite. I suppose that's an achievement, isn't it? Round 4 goes their way, and I mean that's it. It's a break in the absolute deluge of rounds that they've been conceding so far that they sorely needed. If they'd have conceded this, I'd have argued the momentum would have been just too far gone, having lost 10 rounds in a row up until that point. They'll pick that one up. That'll galvanize them a little bit, I think, give them a bit of confidence. And I think one of the key takeaways from me there is the CrownZero roam presence was singularly ineffective in that round. It was very minimal to start off with, but then it just straight up wasn't that effective. And EWAVE, they weren't really pressured at any point in the way that they were back in round 1. They were able to stamp their authority on how the rounds went in terms of tempo and that. CrownZero, now that we're coming down to this basement objective, those roamers are going to be every bit as critical, and you can't let EWAVE, off the back of breaking your own momentum, you can't let them stamp their authority and dictate how this round goes. You're going to have to start fighting them a little bit more expansively.
Good word there. Galvanized? I like that. This next round, we do see another relatively assertive approach here. The IQ being brought along, revealing that pulse downstairs. Nice adaptation here out of EWAVE, and yeah, perfectly done to be able to bait out that C4. Pulse C4 completely revealed, completely countered. The fight over towards top. Oh my goodness, what the heck? EXO, that's the name of that staircase. Top EXO will go the way of EWAVE. Seemingly, a new breath of life breathed into this team. They've seemingly woken up out of nowhere after a really slow start once again. They do manage to pick up an entry in 2 rounds in a row. Entei being that player to kind of spearhead this approach and leave the CrownZero down numbers.
And whilst I'm not going to suggest we're about to see a 14-round clean sweep, we are seeing them be significantly more effective in engaging, backing up from those smoke grenades, not needing to take that fight. They can sit back, they can configure that to their benefit again. And there's no rushing, which has been prevalent in EWAVE's game so far. But Fleeks, Entree, maybe could have done with rushing a little bit there.
Oh my god, the reverse angles through the floor. All the answers they need. EWAVE with the opener, but suddenly it's all CrownZero lighting up the scoreboard, peeking the vert. Not afraid of these players and showing it. Two picks, apologies, falling in their direction. Nikki, I thought was about to get caught off guard. Being the Echo down below, you expect him to be sitting on cams, but he's sitting there and he's ready for fight. Peeking up, managed to find one, and ooh, we'll see grenade toss down the Animus hatch. Will be followed up by a drop. It will. IQ sending it down. Risk peeking the vert at the same time, and Cyber has actually managed to clear out those Goyo canisters to take control of Animus. With that nade masking the sound of the drop, it's very likely that CrownZero actually aren't aware of this player.
I really like when you have the little strategies like that, like covering the sound of a drop or a breach with something else. Really love that kind of ideas in there. That's a really inventive way to use the mechanics to your benefit. And look, they're starting to full stack that side of the site. And now the incaster will go out. Now the team will be aware. They're going to try and get the plant down here. Not confident that they can get the frags, I think. Fixture. They'll be down. They're not going to play any further part in this round. They'll go down completely. And now it's just down to Fleeks. They can get the intel if they want, but as the time ticks away, they're going to be fighting in a post-plant scenario, Hyper.
Ace goes down, Fleek with the retake. Position of these two players known. They're both being repeatedly spotted by that bulletproof camera inside of sight. Actually destroyed. I believe it was a Val camera or an Echo cam that had been revealing these players. So no longer any active info for Fleeks to play off of, and fire on the doorways set down by his own teammate will be the thing that picks up the kill. The Pulse forced to walk directly into it, and EWAVE 2 rounds on the board.
If a close friend of yours told you to walk in fire, would you?
Yes.
And just wonder what the rationale was for peaking that very early in the plant. You've got 45 seconds to deal with it. That's you've got an acre of time. And
I
wonder what the
mean,
rationale was to take the fight running into fire, especially when you've already taken a shot or two.
so Fleeks' position there, it's not as crazy as it seems. Look at this. Actually, Cyber hits 2 shots in the chest with the commando there, which is what does so much damage that the next tick of the fire actually takes Fleeks down. It looks like a crazy situation, but the Goyo fire doesn't do that much damage. If he isn't also being shot at the same time, he takes that engagement. He'll probably take about 50 damage worth before he can get himself out after finding the kill onto that player. So a calculated risk, but man, is he bad at math as he takes a couple bullets to the chest and goes down.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking that you were explaining it. And it was a good explanation, but I was thinking, well, that math just didn't math, did it?
I think he was hoping that the IQ would be distracted or like not looking at the doorway because it's fired off. He's not going to push me right now, right?
Absolutely,
so yeah, just a risk, just playing the game. I don't hate the play. I mean, it's a pretty rough situation for Fleeks to be in. Like, you're not expecting to win at that point. You're locked out of sight. There's Goyo fire going off. There's 2 players here. They know where you have to come from. So
yeah,
I understand his frame of mind trying to play around that. But as we head into this next round, EWAVE have been looking a lot better in the previous 2. Some answers to the questions posed by CrownZero in the first half, and Scaps seemingly completely shut down.
Yeah, I mean, by the end of the 3rd round, they were 10-1, and now they're 11-3. So they've been shut down quite comprehensively these last 2 rounds, haven't they?
Oh, completely.
But taking that away from them, the player that's fallen asleep can wake back up straight away. So it's it's a bit early to say that they've lost momentum completely. Early kill coming out from EWAVE as the trade almost comes out onto the Asher to C4. Very even early exchanges.
Inside of sight, though, I believe are these attackers. Yeah, having jumped in through the window, looking to try and go for this plant, but the Animus breach isn't, or the IT breach isn't open, and these players can simply peek from the vert. You don't have the tools needed to be able to deal with this. Dipsy upstairs causing some problems, calling out the player's positions to his teammate, and Scap seemingly there as well, ready to pick up all the kills inside of sight, swinging through. The last one will be a trade. But EWAVE, after a couple of really good, fundamentally focused rounds, slowly chipping away at CrownZero's defense, seemingly bet it all on black, hop through one window, and lose everything.
Yeah, I think absolutely a missed drone there. Just look up. As soon as you jump in, and especially when you signpost what you're going to do with the breach and that, it's like, oh, guys, I think they might be coming in through that wee window there. Especially when you signpost it in that way, if you're going to commit and jump through with all your players at that point, you have to be absolutely certain that you've not got an angle that you've maybe not seen. I think that's an absolute missed call on strategy alone. Is what's happening there, and it's disappointing because as you say, EWAVE, towards the tail end of their offensive half, they were actually doing very, very well, and you'd have backed them to make it 3-3. But alas, CrownZero, they'll make it 4-2 on their own defensive half.
A couple things there. I mean, first of all, I don't like EWAVE going for it at all because they hadn't opened up the IT breach. That IT breach is essential for that play. If you want to jump in that window, it's often a good thing to do. Like, you can jump in that window, but IT needs to be open first. Otherwise, CrownZero are going to do exactly what they did. They're just going to sit on that vert and deny you that way. So that ends up working out really great in CrownZero's favor. They're super happy with that result. But the bigger thing that I'm really just left questioning is, why are you going for such a risky play when you have already found yourself the man advantage? EWAVE found the opener. Things are already heading in their direction. You don't need to go for broke. You can simply continue with your plan and just slowly take apart this defense, which you've been consistently managing to do so far in the half. Side swap now, EWAVE on the defense, so hopefully they're able to pick up a couple more rounds on the favored side. But I don't know, CrownZero, their attacks look pretty good last map. I wouldn't count on it.
Yeah, well, although admittedly they were against a very much reduced side, EWAVE, now that they've got a full roster, they can commit a little more heavily to these roams and this aggressive playstyle that I think they really wanted to go for previously. It's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic really shifts things. Whether EWAVE, they're bolstered by this additional member, in a way that's changes the game. But at the moment, they're letting these walls and this site prep go essentially uncontested. Halfway through the round, we've got breaches open, we've got breaches into maintenance, we've got players walking through, and only now are they getting contested that they're on site.
Well, I think what happened there is CrownZero realized that there was hardly anyone on site. 2 roamers down below and Entei trapped over towards this conference room. They decided to try and take a fight into site. Phantom shutting it down, finding his first kill of the map. Congrats to him. Fight will come through over towards conference. Mav jumping in the window, able to find the trade onto Entei. The isolated player burned by a Mav torch. Oh, the PM. CrownZero managing to find their way back into this round. Not over yet by any means, but a little bit closer.
And whilst I appreciate the BR, I appreciate a little bit of that. It has signposted now exactly where they're going to be attacking from. It's too late in the round really to rotate. The players, they've got to commit. They've got to just win their 1v1s. EWAVE, they're going to start winning themselves, but Fleeks, they'll pick one off from maintenance. It's 2v3 as CrownZero, they have the man advantage and the position to start pinching in on the defenders.
Reposition here out of Cyber, re-aggressing in towards Electrical, but suddenly as the fight comes into sight, he's the last one alive, forced to engage with Nikki, crouched behind one of those benches, but the positioning is so hard to clear, the shot is difficult to hit, and we will see the Thatcher of Nikki managing to win that one.
Yeah, all in all, not the best hold in the world, and I think a lot of that is down to just not contesting the site prep. Whilst, they did get those initial kills, and they did establish that numerical advantage halfway through the round when Phantom took out Scaps, as they started falling one by one, they weren't able to respond because the site prep had already been complete. So all CrownZero had to focus on was pushing in and getting these kills. They didn't have to think, right, now it's time to get this breach open. Now it's time to actually move here and cover this angle. They could just go out and attack, and they could have a bit of fun with it, as you saw with the Mav Torch kill.
You say that. It seemed to me like the biggest thing in that round was Fleeks just managing to keep finding players exposing themselves to IT. And credit to CrownZero, the reason that's happening is because the rest of the team is doing such a good job of drawing the defender's attention towards Electrical and Connector. So everyone on EWAVE is worried about that main push. They just see Fleeks just kind of like slyly walking up IT, poking his head in. Oh, that's my kill. And then backing off a little bit, giving them some space, letting them forget about it for a moment. And he reappears. I'm picturing like a little shark fin poking up and down above the water over and over again. And Fleeks ends up with 3 on the round. I don't know if you caught that. And all 3 of them coming from that IT door.
Well, that's exactly it. And it's because they allowed this prep to go uncontested that all of a sudden, now instead of, contesting, maybe 2 or 3 angles total, they're contesting 5 and 6. And their attention is so divided that it's pretty much a given that they're gonna give up these angles. That first kill comes out onto Dipsy charging in like a lunatic and not getting any reward for it. Cyber, they'll pick up 1, and CrownZero, they're gonna go down very, very early in this round as we hit a 4v2. Entree going down to Nikki, that'll bring it back to a 3v2, but it's not over yet. Stark contrast to last round where we only saw 1 kill by the halfway mark. We've seen half the players gone by the time a minute ticks by.
First half of that round, looking almost like CrownZero defense in the first quarter of this game. We managed to battle back a little bit. Last 2 players, Nikki and Fleeks, managed to pick up a few kills for their trouble as they continue the roam clear. But EWAVE opted not to continue to engage, finding a position where they're able to rotate back to site, a free corridor, if you will. They decide, you know what the play here is? Just sit back, relax. We got control of the bomb site. Let's wait for them. That being said, 2 C4s wasted, only 1 remaining, that being in the pocket of risk. So, potential here for CrownZero to get themselves into a position where they can start to go for that plant, and only 1 C4 for them to deal with.
1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 for them to deal with. 1 C4 Yeah, it's mature gameplay from EWAVE, which I think is something that's maybe been lacking from their game so far. This whole series. It's a bit of maturity, which I think is a good sign. You know, they're playing the time, they're playing what's in front of them, and they're not going to let CrownZero just walk onto site uncontested like they did last round. They're going to make them kind of fight for the territory.
Phantom is cut off here. If he's held from the hatch, Fleeks can simply keep him from being able to fall off, but he's choosing to engage with the player on these exo stairs. He wants to find a fight, and he will. Peeking out, picking up Nikki. Suddenly, the only player left is Fleeks. He's been so good in these last 2 rounds. He'll find the first 30 seconds to work with. Not a ton of time, but enough. Flashbang tossed out, going to try and push in. Thinks better of it. Nagoyo canister, no, not popping. Able to get inside the doorway into the default plant position. Starting to bait out a plant. Looking to see if a player pops up, but not to be. 15 seconds is all that's left, and these last 2 players, they want to work together to guarantee themselves the kill. Fleeks forced to pop off, will find the first, and goes to reposition, seemingly aware that the last is over towards Exo, sprinting, looking for the fight, but Cyber is there, tucked in an unpredictable corner. Not ready as Fleeks in the free fire from Cyber will be enough to be able to take him down.
Yeah, I was kind of backing CrownZero there. I was backing Fleeks to pick it out, pull it out of the fire. I do question the wisdom in sprinting off-site at the last second without peeking any corners. But you know, come what may. I mean, we're looking at it with the benefit of hindsight, aren't we? I did quite enjoy the neuron activation that you saw from EWAVE the moment that second plant came down, realizing it's probably not a fake, and both of them rushing to pinch in. That first kill comes down, and that's quite mature, really, isn't it? To just sit there, say, I'm just going to get you on the cross. I don't need to play the frag right now. You need to come and contest me. Well held from EWAVE.
You say that, but at the same time, it was a 1v3 that came about as close as it could to being lost. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was fully invested in Fleeks winning that round. Like I was ready to call it. I had the call prepped. I already knew what I was gonna say.
I wanted it,
yeah,
absolutely wanted it.
I mean, I love big plays like that. They always get put on ESA Twitter, and then I can see myself casting on Twitter. Like, oh my goodness, that's exciting every time. But no, not to be. Fleeks shut down. EWAVE crushing both mine and his dreams. I'm being put in an ESA Twitter clip.
Yeah, we submit the formal complaint that wasn't in the script, EWAVE. Thank you very little.
The game continues, though, and we do see EWAVE go into a site they've not tried so far, playing on this command bomb site.
Yeah, up top, not that much in the way of prep going on so far from the attackers, although we are going to see Dipsy back on that blitz. Not really overly effective on the blitz. In a way that maybe we have seen them be effective elsewhere. The operator, that is, not necessarily just Dipsy. But they're going to take some more damage early this round without picking up a kill or really taking any territory a minute into the round.
Yeah, I think that maybe just a little chip damage during a spawn peek, potentially. Not something I saw, but already I'm liking this CrownZero attack better than the one we saw out of EWAVE in the first half. The IT breach open, lower warehouse popped. The pressure is just going to continue to mount here, but the important thing is that it's already impossible for EWAVE to be able to peek to contest this vert. Should they attempt a storage plant and engagement over towards top rafters, Scaps will be the one to win it. Continuing with his scoreline, 14-6. I don't know if you've noted, managing to pick up a few more kills as we got into the second half, though there will be a trade out of Entei, picking up the trade onto that Ram. That's very important here because it gets rid of so much of the pressure over towards that IT breach, but it may not matter. Dipsy, with the case, looking to try and make his way in towards the other bomb site.
Yeah, and this isn't one really where you see a lot of the action go down too often, is it? Because it's not really got that external access. But here we can see them setting up the sightlines. You can see them cutting off things with the smoke. And I think they actually might be about to try for a plant here. Not something we see overly often. There it is, out of sight for all involved. The angle's being held. There's the... Oh, that's not something you would have expected. EWAVE actually winning out on the swing there. 3v2 as the plant is cancelled. They decide not to allow him to get that down. Diffuser down inside, and it's down to Nikki to try and clutch out in the 2v1.
Nikki last alive, looking for a fight, but EWAVE don't want to give it to him. Simply opting to back off. They know Case is down on the ground, and they don't need to engage. Playing it smart, playing it calculated, but the feet in the drone holes spotted. Nikki repositioning, looking to try and find the last player, but Phantom playing on a doorway, ready for the swing when he hears the sprint, able to collect that last kill, and another clutch going the way of EWAVE.
Why are you sprinting? That's my question. Why are you sprinting?
Why
You got
are
all the
you
time in the
sprinting,
world. You're nowhere
Bio?
near. You're nowhere near the end of the round. Why are you full sprinting through sight? Oh, bizarre. 3v5 then, 4v5 then, as we move into round 10. And that's not a bad scoreline, really, is it? Given that EWAVE came into this, one round down in the series and only just fulfilling a 5-man stack. So they've done well to kind of pull it out of the fire, given that they went 3-0 down in the map so far, and then have pulled it back. Definitely momentum with them, but then also they could be ahead. They could be ahead.
Been keeping it a little bit close, but these rounds, they've just really they're not convincing for EWAVE. They've won a few, but I really feel like it's just CrownZero all the way until the last minute, pretty much every time. That round, I mean, it was a pretty good idea out of the attack CrownZero. The only reason they weren't able to get that plant down was because the Warden happened to be in the perfect position to see through the smoke and tap away at the foot of the Blitz. That's just sometimes how it goes in Siege. Like a game of inches, it is. CrownZero being taken down. This scoreline getting astoundingly close. Last time they went this site, it was dominant. If they're able to replicate.
Yeah, I would argue that switching away from the Blitz is the right move for Dipsy there. They've not really had too much success with it. My philosophy on Blitz, personally, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is that if you're not rushing in and either getting kills or dying in the first minute of the round, you're probably playing Blitz wrong. What do you think?
I disagree. I like Blitz. I think Blitz is really good for taking some very specific space, should it be wanted. And yeah, I think there's a lot of rounds where you can get a lot of value out of a Blitz who might not be just rushing in right at the start of the round. I think like on this map, for example, taking electrical with a Blitz is so good. And you don't really need electrical until you're just getting ready for your execute. It's like the last thing you do. This round, I mean, doesn't look like CrownZero are going to be able to, are going to need to try and contest any space assertively because everything already sliding in their direction. Cyber on 1 HP, 2 players taken down, and all the walls seemingly just slowly just being picked apart.
And being done in a very timely fashion as well, but here the C4 being pre-ripped. This is going to be something where if they detonate it at the right time, it could absolutely swing the round back in their favor, but it gets popped.
Future, here's the C4 rip, backing away smartly. C4's tossed out, there it is, it's gone, been used, risk finding nothing. But all their hard breach has already been placed. Nothing to be able to open up this connector wall, and with that reinforced off, this does make it a little bit harder for CrownZero to push in. Not a lot, mind you, they still got an overwhelming advantage, and it just continues to grow. Fleeks one, Nikki another, and Future will be the one to close it out. All that work, keeping that connector wall closed. Suddenly, next thing you know, it's a flawless round.
Yeah, I think CrownZero they did well to set up the site in such a way that was conducive for an attack there. And it was, yeah, I mean, there wasn't really any standout moments there, was it? It was just a very cool, calm, and controlled performance from CrownZero. E-Wave, the C4s could have changed it all on the backside approach, but they're just not coming to fruition in the end. As CrownZero alert to the possibility of C4s, neither shooting them or getting out of dodge nice and quickly. Match point, map point, series point for CrownZero, and if you're E-Wave, this is last chance saloon. Either you win this round and the round after it, or you could be dumped out of the competition. No love lost between these two teams, Hyper, and the stakes, they're extraordinarily high because this is now it. If you're E-Wave, this is it.
Elimination point for E-Wave. This could be the last time we see them in the ESA Cup.
How are you going to be remembered? As a hero? Or Are you going to be remembered as losers? Because these two teams, they hate each other as well, don't they, Hyper? This isn't, it's not, it's ESA, it's elimination, and it's bragging rights for these two sets of players as well.
I feel like we haven't been doing enough to highlight the fact that this is a rivalry. I mean, this is a grudge match here. Both these German rosters, the beef between the players on these two different teams. There's a lot on this. More on the line than you could possibly imagine. And an attack looking like it's going to be extraordinarily direct. 4 players down here in this little area outside the breaches, looking to get these walls open. Animus already popped. EMP's tossed out to try and open up this secondary wall, but the Bandit Tricker in position and quick enough to be able to clear out that ace charge. No second one tossed, and that one's simply wasted.
So that's good. That's really good from EWAVE to start off with, because one thing that they've been pretty poor at so far is kind of establishing control of their breachables. Oh, but the Mav hole, they're going to pick up one. Nikki, they'll get refragged by Entree on the way out. But Key, that was the Bandit. Now all the other walls, they're potentially openable if they've got your utility for it. They do have the Maverick, and they know where the Cade Claws are. They can potentially open up these other walls now.
Really don't like this attack out of EWAVE. It feels just like a real nothing burger. These players, they're already in position to be able to deny this plant. There's Goyo canisters to watch it, and EWAVE do continue to drop their bodies. CrownZero somehow managing to find all the answers. Pushing through, Animus control secured, but players are getting dropped, and with everyone staring at the single doorway they have to push through, they're picking up every single fight. Entei, the last alive, forced to engage, but Scaps will have the answer. That Goyo sprinting through, trying to find something, anything, but EWAVE will be the ones to be sent home. CrownZero continue, and in this grudge match between these two teams, they will be the champions.
Well, maybe not champions so far. That's a bit. They've got a whole lot of Swiss ahead of them to get through. But of this rivalry, of this series, 100%, they are the champions. CrownZero take a convincing 2-0 series victory after EWAVE. They failed to play a full roster map 1, and they're not overly competitive on their own map pick, losing 7-4. Will
I
they
can't
rue
believe that
this day?
attack worked.
Yeah, they kind of just brute forced it, didn't they? They just mashed their face into the site and it worked.
I'm actually upset that attack worked. I, I was watching it pan out, and I'm like, "There's no way this." But it seems like the worst possible attack you could go for. But
Yeah.
putting that new operator to good use, the Raura, to close down those doorways, making EWAVE have to panic a little bit, feeling like they need to press forward, and the rest of CrownZero simply holding the angles, shutting it down. They'll manage to take it and continue on in our bracket, which I think we can pull up in just a second here and see who they might have potential of playing later on next week.
Yeah, they've done themselves a favor there by winning this map, this matchup. Have CrownZero, but it's still very much all to play for because their next game, elimination bracket, and if they win the next game, then they've still got to go into the elimination bracket where it'll be a very much last chance qualifier. Either they go through to the knockout rounds or they get eliminated. So poor performance early on the Swiss, it doesn't mean you're completely out, you're completely done for. But what it does mean is that you then have to scrap a survival mindset every round of Swiss concurrently after that.
Yeah, and it's not a position you envy them being in. They've still got some teams that they're going to have to play, and 2 more matches they'll need to take to be able to qualify for our playoffs. Not over for them yet, though. CrownZero will continue in our tournament, and that's going to be it for us tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us on this fine Thursday evening. We will be back next week on Monday, 19:30 CEST, as always, the 7th of April. Be there. Nexus 77 versus Entropy Gaming, 2 teams who have really had a lot to show so far. My last Cats was Nexus, and I got to say, I was very impressed by the team. So excited to see that one going on. And yeah, I think that's it from the 2 of us. I've been High Bear here with my co-caster, Delta Bacon. Thank you all so much for joining us on this wonderful Thursday night, and looking forward to seeing you all next time.